Stopping a criminal, even a petty one, is no easy task. It's hard work that requires endurance and quick thinking. Today we bring you the most incredible moments of arrests with body cameras that will make you respect the police even more. The officers rushed to defend a woman in need, only to end up having to defend themselves from her. In the summer of 2024, a police department in Wisconsin received a call about a man behaving aggressively with his girlfriend. The officers quickly arrived at the scene and arrested the 23-year-old suspect, but soon discovered that the seemingly calm girlfriend was a much bigger problem. As she was getting out of her car, the alleged victim hit the vehicle next to her, which led the officers to investigate her mental state. The woman became combative during the interrogation, attacked the officers, and even damaged their patrol car. She was screaming and biting. So other restraint methods had to be used. The 19-year-old woman had a record of 6 offenses, including drunk driving, disorderly conduct, threats to a police officer, and resisting arrest. This was the 7th, and her parents had to pay a $5,000 bail to get her out of jail. Judging by her behavior, Mom and Dad should start saving now for the age. This police officer caught a criminal in a place very unlike the library. A Wisconsin officer was patrolling a parking lot when he saw a $500 bicycle that had been stolen from a store. A young troublemaker had taken the bicycle for a test ride but never returned. The observant police officer found the suspect in the hallway, but as soon as he started to approach, the suspect attempted to flee. The experienced police officer reacted immediately and was able to apprehend the suspect on 8 CMOs. During the subsequent search, nothing incriminating was found on the suspect, who, of course, denied having stolen anything. Fortunately, the security cameras of the bicycle shop confirmed the young man's guilt. The 20-year-old thief had 2 prior offenses, to which the charges of theft and evasion of authority are now added. He was released a few days later on $1,000 to cents bail. Women stole clothes from a store in the Mayfield Mall in Wisconsin and fled in a Toyota Camry Greece. The police initiated a chase that reached speeds of 145 kph. The suspects tried to deceive the officers by stopping and pretending to surrender. However, as soon as the police approached, they fled again at full speed. The chase ended after 10 minutes when the car stopped for good. One woman was immediately arrested, while the other fled on foot. The police dogs located her and found her hiding behind some garbage containers. Inside the car, the officers found men's clothing with the tags still on. Both women now face theft charges and have been given a bail of $1,500 each. But in Santa Monica, no chase was necessary thanks to a police drone that caught a possible car thief red-handed. The drone saw a man trying to force the lock of someone else's car in a beach parking lot. 2 agents arrived at the scene 1 minute later to catch the suspect red-handed, who only faces a fine since it was his first offense. An agent as fast as the flash ended up catching a famous criminal. A sergeant from the CIU discovered a wanted criminal getting into a van that had been reported stolen 12 days earlier and called for backup. During the arrest of the suspect, he rammed 2 patrol cars and attempted to escape. The 33-year-old man turned out to be good at parkour, but that wasn't enough to evade the sergeant, a former track and field star who caught him immediately. The suspect was arrested on numerous charges and was given a $75,000 bail, which he did not pay. The Arkansas police used a clever strategy to stop a reckless motorcyclist. During a routine patrol in Arkansas, an officer saw a blue Yamaha YFC 690 traveling at high speed without a license plate. When asked to stop, the motorcyclist ignored and initiated a chase, weaving through dense traffic during rush hour, reaching speeds of 228 kph. The motorcyclist seemed untouchable. It was then that the officers employed a coordinated tactic. 3 patrol cars took separate routes and converged simultaneously at the same point, forcing the motorcyclist off the road or onto a grassy area, where he lost control. The 23-year-old was not riding a stolen motorcycle, but his record showed 12 demerit points on his license. He was charged with reckless driving and endangering others, and he permanently lost his license and motorcycle. What started as a routine traffic stop ended in a chase and $500,000 in damages. Around 3 p.m., officers from the Albuquerque Police Department attempted to stop a 26-year-old driver who was driving a white Jeep, suspected of having stolen a car. The repeat offender rammed 2 unoccupied police vehicles at high speed before fleeing south in an attempt to evade arrest. After a 40-minute chase, the suspect crashed his car near Central and Corners. He was with a woman who denied involvement, but that didn't stop her from being charged. Preliminary damage estimates reach $500,000. Both individuals were charged with 4 counts: resisting authority, vehicle theft, fleeing the scene of an accident, and property damage, plus additional charges. A longer prison sentence could still be on the way. The street racer was pretending to be Dominic Toretto in real life, but soon found himself in handcuffs. On May 1, 2023, police responded to a call about street racers, which is always a delicate situation, as 90% of them are usually armed. An officer ran after a group of suspects. 2 others blocked the driver of a blue Yamaha motocross, and of course, they confiscated a loaded gun. The man claimed to be a good guy and insisted that the arrest was unjustified. However, he couldn't present a license for the firearm, which sealed his fate. He was arrested and now faces jail time. An actor good enough to be in a movie ended up in jail. The Hot Springs police wanted to question a man as a witness to a nearby robbery, but he suddenly became the main suspect when he fled. The officers chased the man for 2 blocks until he entered a spa and hid in the changing rooms. When asked to come out, he pretended to be a woman, using a high voice and saying he wasn't dressed. Even after being arrested, the actor refused to break character, offering the police supposed valuable information about human trafficking in exchange for being allowed to leave. The strange performance earned him charges of fleeing from the police, resisting authority, and trespassing on private property. What's more stupid than verbally threatening the police during an interrogation? Throwing water at them, of course. When the officers responded to a disturbance, they encountered an aggressive man who began to berate them. The situation worsened when the man threw water at the officers and attempted to escape to his house. 4 officers managed to grab him in time, but that only made the man angrier, and he started shouting insults and spitting. When the disturbed suspect claimed he was injured, the police called an ambulance to take him on a stretcher. He was charged with causing serious bodily injury to a law enforcement officer, property damage, and resisting authority, but he is still considered innocent until proven guilty in court. A 19-year-old ruined his future with a bad decision. Milwaukee officers saw a gray Chevy truck that matched the description of a vehicle involved in a hit and run. When they tried to stop the van, the young driver fled, reaching speeds of 120 miles per hour during a 25-minute chase. Fortunately, traffic was light and the officers got the vehicle off the road without incident. The teenager did not resist arrest. He was found guilty of hit and run, reckless endangerment, and evading the police. He faces a prison sentence of 6 to 11 years. A strange robbery took place in Atlanta when a thief with bags on his head stole a firearm from a residence at 9:44 a.m. A homeowner on Biscayne Drive called 911 after seeing a man inside his house on security footage. The thief, who had a plastic bag on his head, had stolen a gun from the owner. The police arrived within minutes and chased the suspect throughout the neighborhood. The chase ended when the man failed to jump a fence and was apprehended. The 33-year-old man was charged with first-degree robbery, property damage, illegal firearm possession, and resisting authority. A woman almost ran over a police officer and nearly crashed her car, but tried to blame her behavior on being triple-raped. Flagler County deputies arrested a woman for reckless driving after she nearly ran over an officer and caused property damage. During the interrogation, he blamed his actions on his medical condition and provided documentation of ADHD and OCD diagnosis. She also mentioned her struggle with alcoholism and her mother's severe brain illness. The woman's behavior became increasingly erratic. She began shouting, pacing, and gesturing aggressively towards the officers. Concerned for their own safety and hers, the police restrained the woman, who resisted violently, screaming and thrashing throughout the process. No! She was charged with reckless driving, 2 counts of assaulting an officer, and resisting arrest with violence. A police officer was able to prevent a crime thanks to a drone. A drone from the New Orleans Police Department NEOP detected 2 armed men acting suspiciously in a residential area and immediately alerted the officers. They arrived at the scene, apprehended the suspects before any crime could occur. The police confiscated the weapons and believed the men were planning an armed robbery. Thanks to the quick action of the drone operator, no one was injured. An aggressive woman ends up handcuffed after the police initially showed up for her brother. A man reports the theft of his backpack, which contained money and important documents. Thanks to an Apple AirTag, he and the police were able to track the backpack to the house of a 19-year-old suspect. While the officers were questioning the teenager, his 22-year-old sister arrived and started yelling at the police.
Before I call a lawyer!
It escalated to physical aggression and she was then arrested.
Y'all don't gotta grab me up like...
During the search of the house, several bags and purses were found in the trash bins, as well as the stolen backpack in the bathroom. The brother was charged with receiving and concealing stolen goods valued at over $5,000, while the sister was charged with assaulting an officer and resisting authority. His bail was set at $5,000, 1 cent. Cigarette thief turned a simple crime into a full-blown confrontation at the airport. On November 11, 2023, a 31-year-old man from La Crosse, Wisconsin, stole 2 packs of cigarettes at a gas station. Just 25 minutes later, he escalated the situation by storming into the La Crosse airport in a stolen car. Next, he boarded a private plane and, brandishing an 8-inch knife, held the crew hostage. The police blocked the plane with a Burkett military vehicle to prevent takeoff. Negotiators tried for 45 minutes to get the man to surrender. When he refused, a SWAT team stormed the plane and subdued him without causing injury. The man, with a long criminal record, was charged with 6 felonies, including attempted kidnapping and making a terrorist threat. A bail of $500,000 was imposed on him, and he will not be able to contact Colgan Air Service again. A high-speed chase spanning 2 states could have been a Fast and the Furious movie. On February 7, 2024, the Arkansas police received a distress signal from a neighboring jurisdiction. The officers set out in pursuit of a U-Haul van that was traveling at over 193 kph. Without their knowledge, the vehicle was transporting firearms and Molotov cocktails. The chase began in Locust Grove, Oklahoma, and ended 96 kilometers away in Springdale, Arkansas. During the chase, an officer performed a pit maneuver at 162 kph, causing his patrol car to overturn. Fortunately, he was unharmed. 4 patrol cars were damaged during the operation. 2 suspects were detained and charged with assault, conspiracy, lawful firearm possession, and resisting authority. They are also wanted for a prior vehicular assault attempt against Michigan police. A Georgia officer got straight to the point with two aggressive drivers. A gray Volkswagen swerved dangerously and overtook another car, prompting an officer to intervene. The driver and his passenger argued and acted aggressively, determined to prove they were right. Even after the people handcuffed the belligerent couple, they continued to verbally reprimand him and accuse him of misconduct, something that body camera recordings later disproved. The man was charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer and threatening violence. The woman was charged with resisting authority. An emotional woman turned a minor car accident into a major drama. The officers responded to a report of a collision between a Ford truck and a car. The driver of the car, an agitated woman, claimed she had urgent deliveries to make and couldn't stay. Witnesses stated that she had been aggressive with the truck driver and had even tried to flee the scene. The police tried to calm her down, but she kept crying, screaming, and even attempted to leave again. At one point, she threw herself to the ground and threatened to self-harm, hitting her head against the wheel of a car. The officers restrained her to prevent injuries. She was fined $136 for speeding, $250 for tailgating, and extra penalties for driving uninsured. A car traveling at high speed attempted to flee twice, but the Arkansas police did not allow it. In West Memphis, Arkansas, a patrol saw a white car traveling at 193 kph in a 55 kph zone. The officers stopped the vehicle and the driver, a 22-year-old woman, briefly got out, claiming she was scared. However, she quickly got back into the car and sped off again, initiating a second chase. The officers forced the vehicle to stop on the shoulder, where they arrested the woman. She was charged with reckless driving, speeding, and having an open container of alcohol in the car. She was fined $415 and released on bail of $3,000 once said. Troublesome passenger in Miami caused chaos at the airport and resisted arrest. On March 31, 2023, a 31-year-old woman delayed a Frontier Airlines flight at Miami International Airport by getting into an altercation with another passenger. The police escorted her and a friend off the plane, but the woman continued to behave aggressively, shouted, and resisted arrest with such violence that the officers had to carry her out. During the scuffle, she kicked and broke an officer's body camera. Even in the patrol car, she continued to be combative, spitting, kicking, and trying to bite one of the officers. The woman was charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and trespassing. A mistake by this woman resulted in more than $10,000 in damages to airport property. 1. Her arrest just before Christmas 2022. Miami-Dade police responded to an altercation at the American Airlines terminal. A woman in a state of panic was yelling at the airport staff, claiming she couldn't find her two daughters. She asked for help, but when the employees said they couldn't leave their posts, the woman became violent. The woman destroyed a computer valued at $3,000, overturned equipment, and caused more than $10,000 in material damage. The police detained her, and she explained she had gone to the bathroom and found her daughters missing when she returned. The officers quickly located the two girls, who were calmly waiting in another terminal. It turned out the woman had gone to the wrong terminal. They didn't take the girls to their mother because the police didn't want them to see her handcuffed and in that state. Later, some relatives picked up the girls, while the woman, who was under the influence of toxic substances, was arrested and charged with assault, property damage, public intoxication, and disorderly conduct. A domestic altercation turned dangerous, but the neighbors called the police just in time. The police went to a residence after neighbors reported loud screams and fights inside. The officers arrived and found a woman screaming and physically assaulting her husband. She accused him of abuse, while he claimed that her behavior had become so erratic that he had hidden all the sharp objects in the house and had been living in the basement for 6 months to avoid confrontations. When the officers tried to arrest her, the woman resisted violently, even assaulting the police. And they accused the husband of forcing her to consume illegal substances and waiting for her to claim the insurance money. These accusations were investigated and found to be untrue. The woman was arrested and charged with domestic violence and resisting authority. A TikTok influencer was caught stealing twice and now faces legal issues. On October 30th, the Cape Coral police arrested a woman with 300,000 followers on TikTok for stealing at a Target store. She had scanned the barcodes of the cheaper items while taking the more expensive ones, stealing products worth $500. The store employees also revealed that just 10 days earlier, she had used the same tactic to steal items worth $225. Although she was caught after the first theft, it seems she didn't learn her lesson. The influencer, who had been teaching others how to make money, later posted on TikTok claiming she needed a free lawyer because she was poor. However, the police noticed that her social media posts flaunted luxury items, which led to an investigation into possible tax fraud. A juggling act earned a university student a warning and some smiles. The police stopped a 20-year-old university student who was driving a car with a broken headlight. Suspecting he might be drunk, the officers asked him to take a breathalyzer test. Instead, the student offered to juggle. He took out 3 juggling clubs and demonstrated his skills without any problems, entertaining the officers, who recorded his performance on their phones and let him go with a simple, "If only everyone interacted with the police like that." 3 officers barely managed to detain a violent suspect.
Take me to jail!
On June 12, 2022, a park surveillance camera identified a 24-year-old woman with an active arrest warrant for failing to appear in court. The patrol officers approached her as she was leaving the park, calling her by name several times, but she ignored them. An officer intercepted her in a patrol car and immediately arrested her. Upon being arrested, the woman burst into a fit of rage, banging her head against the car hood and yelling at the officers to take her to jail.
Take me to jail!
Next, she spat at one of the officers and made threats, which worsened the situation. The woman was charged with threatening an officer, resisting authority, and disturbing the public order. She was also found guilty of other charges related to her arrest warrant and sentenced to 8 months in jail. A daughter's crisis turned a parking accident into a chaotic arrest. The police were called to a parking lot after a gray sedan collided with a neighboring car. The officers found a 60-year-old woman at the wheel with her daughter in the passenger seat. When the officers approached, the daughter immediately started yelling at them, demanding that they leave her mother alone. While the officers were questioning the driver, they observed signs of intoxication and attempted to arrest her. At that moment, the daughter burst into a fit, physically interfering, grabbing her mother and refusing to let the officers put handcuffs on her. The situation worsened when the daughter started screaming incoherently as she threw herself to the ground and banged her head against the car's steering wheel. The officers had no choice but to arrest the daughter and charge her with obstruction of justice and resisting authority. The deranged antics during a traffic stop only worsened the situation for a driver. A patrol officer stopped a red Volkswagen for reckless driving. The blonde-haired driver immediately tried to gain sympathy, claiming she had 3 children and was a responsible mother. He argued that he was not violating any rules and insisted that the stop was unnecessary. The woman repeatedly refused to provide her ID or driver's license and made several excuses. As the situation worsened, her husband arrived, but instead of calming things, he gave conflicting accounts, increasing suspicions. When the officers observed signs of intoxication, they conducted breathalyzer tests, which she did not fail. The woman's behavior became increasingly erratic. She flirted with the officer inappropriately and suddenly lashed out at them, yelling and threatening them. After being handcuffed, her behavior escalated. She kicked and uttered profanities, even threatened to leave bodily fluids on the officers, forcing them to use more restraint measures. The woman was charged with driving under the influence and resisting authority. Her car was towed under flawed vehicle seizure laws. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Which of these arrests surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and we are working on more incredible arrest moments. So stay tuned for the next video. You won't want to miss it.